Microsoft Word document is really not that dissimilar from what you do every single day, or maybe not every single day, but what you do all the time. Microsoft Word is a pretty easy pretty easy program to understand. All right? And that's actually kind of the problem. Because how many of you, when you first, and when I say how many of you, I mean I'm including myself. So how many of us, maybe a better way to say it, how many of us, when we opened up Microsoft Word for the first time, I don't even remember how long ago that was. It was like 20 years ago. When I opened up Microsoft Word for the first time, basically my thought was, it's cool. It's basically a typewriter. Let's go. So I started typing stuff. And that's kind of how most people view this thing. The thing about that, what we have to remember, is that Microsoft Word is not a typewriter. It's much, much more capable than a typewriter. That's like saying the space shuttle is basically like a bicycle, because they're both vehicles, right? Not really. The space shuttle is a lot more advanced than a bicycle. Anyone can ride a bicycle, pretty much, but you really have to know what you're doing if you want to get the space shuttle to move. All right, so Microsoft Word is very, very complex if you allow it to be, and it can do a lot of things for you if you allow it to. Now, in order to let it do all of these amazing things for you, you have to know its language. So you have to be able to speak the Microsoft Word-ish language, Microsoft Wordese, I don't know what you want to call it, but you have to speak that in order to get Microsoft Word to do what you want it to do. It's not a very complex language, as I'll show you. You should be fairly fluent before the end of the day here. Okay, so let me start off by completely going backwards. We're gonna not talk about Microsoft Word styles for a few minutes. What I want to do first is I want to introduce you to some other concepts that are going to help us to talk about Word styles. All right? And it's gonna, not only that, it's gonna help us to understand how Microsoft Word works, and so therefore gonna allow us to do a lot of stuff easily, quickly, and actually let Microsoft Word do a lot of stuff for us. And those of you who've been in my class before, you know I'm a big fan of letting the computer do as much work as possible. That's what it's for, right? It's a tool. It's supposed to do our stuff for us, and Microsoft Word can usually do whatever I need it to do. All right, so let's talk not about Microsoft Word styles. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about paragraphs. Right? I know, paragraph. We learned what a paragraph was in, what, 4th grade, 3rd grade? Few sentences that have a common idea. You're expressing a common idea, and then you kind of segue to the next paragraph. I mean, we learned that a long time ago. At least for me, it was a long time ago. 4th grade was. So anyway, that's what a paragraph is, right? Well, yeah, in English class and in elementary school and all the way through high school and college, yeah, a paragraph was exactly that. But in Microsoft Word, it is not. In Microsoft Word, a paragraph is where you press the Enter key. Right? So you can type whatever you want and then press the Enter key, and that then becomes a paragraph. Whether it's one letter, whether it's no letters, whether it's 50 sentences, doesn't matter. It is a paragraph when you press the Enter key. All right, now why is that important? Why am I going back to paragraphs? Why is Demetrius talking about paragraphs? We're here to talk about Microsoft Word styles. This kid's going backwards. Well, yeah, I am going backwards, but here's why. Every paragraph can be formatted on its own. You can apply paragraph formatting to a paragraph. So let me give you an example of why that's important. All right, so let's take a look at my document here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. By the way, I'm going to use one of my favorite tricks. I was going to say my favorite trick, but it's not really my favorite one. It's one of my favorite tricks. It's called Control Scroll. At least that's what I call it. So what I'm going to do is put one finger on the Control key in the bottom left corner of my keyboard, grab my mouse, and in the center of the mouse, that little rolly wheel, I'm going to just roll up. And it's going to Control Scroll in. That's Demetrius's scrolly tip of the day. It works all over the place, by the way. My computer's telling me I'm having audio trouble. I was going to do the joke again about let me know if you can't hear me. But that one's old because I already used it once today. Not that that's ever stopped me. Will someone let me know that you can hear me? Anyone? Someone? Anyway, so as I was saying, each paragraph can be controlled by itself. Thank you, Stephanie Tanner. Thank you, Melissa. Okay, so we can we can apply paragraph properties to each and every paragraph. And the cool thing about that is, once you apply paragraph properties, you can then use those same properties all over the place. So in other words, let's take, for example, here I have this is supposed to be like a title of the chapter, because the document that you have is basically the first chapter of the Microsoft Word introduction class manual that I wrote a few years ago. So this is supposed to be like the chapter title. It's called Document Basics, and then there's a subsection called Document Basics, running Microsoft Word, blah, blah, blah. And there's a bunch more of these sections throughout this document. Like I said, it's the first chapter. So let's take this, and we know that this is a paragraph. At first glance, we can kind of see, well, obviously someone pressed the Enter key here, right? Well, maybe it's not so obvious. If you want to make it obvious, there's a little trick, and this is, by the way, the first thing I do when anyone sends me a document ever. And for, well, I'll just leave it at that. When you send me a document, or anybody sends me a document, one of the first things I'll do is click this little button right here. Let me get my highlighter out because I love my highlighter. My highlighter allows me to highlight things. That button right there. What that button does is it shows all of the hidden characters in a Microsoft Word document. Hidden is not the right word. All of the non-printed characters. So you can see there, even between the words, you'll see little squares, and those are the spaces. And then over here you can see a paragraph symbol right there, right there. And further down we'll see a page break. That's a manual page break. Here you can see these arrows represent tab keystrokes, although those aren't working right now because that's actually part of a bullet list, but those arrows represent tab keystrokes. So in other words, what that button does is it shows you all of the non-printed characters, which can come in really handy because then I can really see what's going on in a document, or at least more so. So if I'm ever curious, like, is this really a paragraph, I can click that button and see right here there's a paragraph symbol, which means yes, indeed, it is a paragraph.